Ladies and gentlemen, Indian security forces have intensified the mega anti-terror operation in Jammu and Kashmir to wipe out Pakistani terrorists. India has foiled the infiltration bid in Akhnur and is also going all out to teach Pakistan yet another lesson. Here are the developments and then we begin the weekend debate.
It's day 3 of mega operation to flush out Pakistani terrorists in Jammu and Kashmir.
We are witnessing that intensified terrorist attacks are taking place in the Jammu region. Another attempt of the terrorists to push 4 Pakistani terrorists into the Indian territory have been foiled in the Akhnur area of the Jammu and where in the Gagrial area in the Khod subdivision there was an attempt by the Pakistan that has been foiled and 1 terrorist has been killed while 3 others have been injured. Those 3 terrorists have taken the killed terrorists back to the Pakistani territory and now the searches are on in the area. But if we come to this operation, the Poonch operation that has entered the day 3rd, the search for the terrorists is on to find out those 2 to 3 terrorists that are still active in the area.
The spooked Pakistan provoked again with its infiltration bid in Akhnur. Setting forest on fire, it resorted to diversionary tactics. Our brave hearts hunted down 2 Pakistani terrorists.
इस वक्त मौजूद है राजौरी की उसी ब्रिज से जहां पर अटैकर जिन्होंने आर्मी गाड़ी पर पुंछ में अटैक किया वो इसी ब्रिज से गुजरने वाले थे। उनका मिशन था डेरा की गली से आकर राजौरी में इंटर होना और यहां पर डिस्टर्बेंस क्रिएट करना। आप देख सकते हो यहां पे किस तरह से स्पेशल ऑपरेशन ग्रुप जम्मू एंड कश्मीर पुलिस का यहां पे अलर्ट पर है और लगातार जो भी यहां पे ट्रैफिक मूवमेंट है उनको पहले यहां पे प्रॉपर तरीके से फ्रिस्किंग की जा रही है, उसके बाद यहां से उनको चलने की इजाज़त दी जा रही है।
With 2 to 3 terrorists active in Poonch, the forces have intensified cordon and search operations.
As we move ahead, we see how the terrorists of the Pakistan, they continue to pose the threat. This area is really challenging. Today morning also an attempt was made that was foiled and now the troops here on the ground have taken the position as there has been some suspected movement on the other side.
External Affairs Minister S. Shankar has given a befitting reply to Pakistan.
Is that even by the traditional metrics of security assessment, India faces exceptional challenges. We have seen all-weather connectivity to Ladakh and to Tawang, focus on access to critical passes along the LAC, and the construction, in fact, of the world's highest motorable road over the Umlingla Pass.
Is it the time to teach Pakistan a final lesson? Let's debate.
Well, in fact, ladies and gentlemen, first we'll try and put this into perspective. Why what we are seeing, witnessing, unfolding before our eyes in the Poonch-Rajouri sector becomes far more concerning at this point in time. Well, there is absolutely no doubt about the fact that the situation has vastly improved in the Kashmir Valley. So why exactly have things been changing as far as the Poonch-Rajouri sector is concerned? And take a look at the timeline. We've lost our brave hearts in the last few months. In fact, the numbers, if you really look at it, may not be the way it has been in the past. But having said that, even the loss of a few of our brave hearts, that really causes a huge concern. And not only that, makes every Indian perhaps feel extremely worried and, more importantly, raising questions about the fact that what exactly are we really doing when it comes to dealing with the Pakistanis. Joining us on the broadcast tonight, General Sanjay Kulkarni is joining us on this broadcast, along with Kamaraga, who's joining me here in the studio, defense expert, and General S.P. Sinha. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. In a short while from now, we'll also have our Pakistani guests joining us. But let's just help our viewers understand the very area where this operation is being carried out and why, General Kulkarni, I was just saying this in my introduction, that if you really look at the period between 1996 and 2003, the very time when Poonch-Rajouri sector was largely used and for the kind of infiltration that has actually taken place. What has really changed now, given the fact that the entry to Kashmir Valley becomes far more difficult? More importantly, as far as these terrorists are concerned, most of them would be Punjabi speaking, essentially that they would not be in a position to perhaps be a part of the crowd in Kashmir, makes them even more difficult, stands out. And that is the reason why perhaps you look at the kind of infiltration that has taken place in the last 1 year in these two very sectors.
Absolutely. Shravan, there's no denying the fact that this area of Rajouri, Poonch, and if you would look back in the history, right from 47, 48, this is the area, and subsequently in 1990, when the disturbed areas were declared in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, then we had Rajouri, Poonch, and we had the 6 districts of Kashmir, which were declared, and subsequently in 2000 and later, we had the whole of Jammu and Kashmir declared a disturbed area. Now, this area has thick forest, the proximity is just along the LOC, and lots of infiltration routes. Just not that, there's a Mughal road which connects Jammu to Srinagar via Rajouri. And that is one, that a little about 300 and plus odd kilometers is that Mughal road. And we have another NH44 which connects Jammu to Srinagar. That's approximately about 250 plus kilometers. So there are 2 connectivities. And this area is south of Pir Panjal. Now, south of Pir Panjal, as you rightly said, for the last about 20 years, it's been lying dogo. Because earlier, the Kaka operations that were conducted over there resulted in virtual wiping out of the militants in this area. It has a sizable Hindu population, a sizable Muslim population. Now, having said this, we realize that what you rightly said was after the abrogation of Article 370, we found that the valley itself seems to be returning to normalcy at a rate which was probably not even perceived by anybody. The number of tourists and crores visiting over there, the people themselves coming out, there is extremely difficult, the kind of development that is taking place over there, all has made life miserable for the terrorists to be able to now get the valley people to them. Now, this was one area which was vulnerable. Firstly, because the population is slightly dispersed. It's very forested. It has a huge number of hideouts over there. And therefore, aware of what Pakistanis have all along been, Pakistan is a hub of terrorism. Pakistan has been using terrorism as an instrument of state policy. Pakistan will bleed India with 1,000 cuts. That is what they have planned on. With that having as a backdrop, now you have China. Now, Pakistan acts as a proxy to China. Now, why would they? Now, first and foremost, we must understand, Shravan, that they are our enemies. Pakistan and China are our enemies. Let there not be any doubt on that score. And exactly that is the way they're behaving. And therefore, to say that, well, or to expect from them any good behavior is virtually impossible. They will continue to do that. It's very, very important for us to ensure surveillance, to ensure that these kind of things don't happen. Follow the SOPs. That is one thing. Secondly, now, what you rightly said, the Punjabi-speaking population. The Rajouri, Poonch, right all along, have far more Punjabi-speaking population than the Kashmir Valley. Kashmir Valley speak Kashmiri, whereas these people speak. The Gujjars and the Bakarwals are the ones who are greatly dominating this area, and of course the Pahadis. So we have the Hindus, and this is a way to trigger, I would look at it, a silent migration of the Hindus from this area so that they could migrate. Now, the delimitation also added a part of Rajouri, Poonch to Anantnag for this parliamentary constituency. Now, we've also seen that Pahari is now to be taken as a scheduled tribe status to be given. So, there are multiple factors that are functioning. We are all aware of it. There is no denying the fact. It does not mean that we have to be vigilant. We have to be careful. We have to be ensuring the SOPs must be followed. But yes, what you said is absolutely right. Pakistan will continue to expect anything better from them. I don't think we should. They will do what they are doing. We should be able to counter every part, every strategy, change our tactics, but be able to take on the Pakistani, which we are. And you rightly said earlier on that the way the Akhnur incident has occurred, wherein about one has been shot dead and the other 3 escaped from there, carrying the dead body of this militant, which is about 66 kilometers from Rajouri. That is the area that is existing. Yeah, Shravan.
Right. General Kulkarni, you do make a mention of China, and this is something that I want to focus on, because what has happened is that in the last few days, General Kulkarni, when I was reporting on this entire matter, I did actually focus on the fact that where does the China role really come in? And General Sinha, I want to bring you in on this aspect and help our viewers understand. Now, if you really look at the uniform sector, General Sinha, because of the aggression that we have essentially seen from the Chinese side, we were essentially forced to thin out our deployment at the uniform sector. And primarily the movement that took place after the Galwan attack and the movement of our forces towards the other side, the line of actual control, is something that the Pakistanis want to take full advantage of. And nothing really explains the fact that you would see the kind of infiltration that has taken place is only targeting these very areas, only because of the fact that China, somewhere down the line, has also played the role of helping Pakistan to keep both our fronts active and hot.
No, Pakistan has and China, both of them have many times mentioned that they are all weather alike. So that is the status. They will always combine and try to create problems for India, firstly. Secondly, it's my assessment that when we try and start analyzing the contribution of China towards creating mischief in Jammu and Kashmir, they can give military equipment support, they can give intelligence input, they can give technological support like, from satellite, certain imagery, all that they can provide. But when it comes to troops, boots on the ground, the troops, China dare not, and I repeat, dare not venture into Kashmir. They'll have to pay a very heavy price, I'm convinced, firstly, because they've already had a bloody nose in Galwan. They know that the India of today is different. India of today is not a soft state which India will be called in yesteryears. It is a very strong prime minister, and China knows the retaliation will be heavy. And that's why this is the reason that from south sides of Pangong So, they withdrew for the first time in the history of Chinese military. They withdrew from those mountain tops which we had occupied. Gurkha top, 5 mountain tops we had occupied. So that is the scenario. Now coming to this area, Poonch Rajouri sector, you have to understand the geomilitary importance of this area. And the geomilitary importance is like, there are basically 3 issues in the entire thing. Why attack? The timing. The secondly, what is the solution? Should we continue to lose our brave soldiers? Thirdly, what is the geomilitary importance of this area? So I will come first to the geomilitary importance of this area. You see, Poonch and Rajouri have continuous border with Pakistan, which runs to about 225 kilometers. So this area is very peculiar. It is heavily forested. There are mountain tops, there are rivers, there are ravines. So this is ideal for guerrilla warfare. These terrorists, they infiltrate into India, go and hide themselves. They have sympathizers, there are sleeper cells here. There are OGWs, overground workers, underground workers. They provide support, they provide shelter, they provide food, they provide a route out, they provide intelligence input. All that they help these terrorists. And therefore, it is very difficult for security forces to know, because time and place and methodology of attack, the initiative lies with the terrorist, with the attacker. And that is where our difficulty lies. You cannot monitor, monitor everything what is going on in the jungle. And that is the advantage they take. So Garol Halal forest connect Kulgaon and Kokarnag to Kishtwar and to Shopian forest. And this has access to Poonch and Rajouri, which is called Pir Panjal. So this is the geomilitary importance. Now let's come into the timing. Timing, there are 8 reasons which I would like to mention why Pakistan and China are frustrated and they want to put up a break on the progress being made by India under Prime Minister Modi ji. Let us bring the decision of Supreme Court that 370 abrogation is absolutely correct. That has sent shivers in the spine of Pakistan, because they know they have lost the battle totally. Frustration of Pakistan. The way jihadis are being killed, in last 1 month, I think more than 10-12 jihadis have been killed. And I have a complete database where I can say date-wise, place-wise, where all these Pakistani terrorists have been neutralized. And the beauty is Indian Army has not done it. It is Friends of India. You understand what I say, Friends of India? Who are these Friends of India? The way Dawood has been liquidated, that is what my information is. Pakistan is convinced that for the economic morass, Prime
Right.
Minister Modi is responsible. The dwindling importance of Abdullah and Mahbuba, fear of Pakistan that India is going for heavy purchases of military equipment, and the reservation of certain segments of the Kashmiris and Jammu people in the assembly. So all this is going against Pakistan. So their Manohar, Mungeri Lal ke Hasin sapne that they will one day get Kashmir is totally gone.
Okay. Let me also bring in Faraz Saeed, who's joining us from Pakistan. Faraz, you've heard what General Kulkarni as well as General S.P. Sinha had to say with regards to why exactly this would have happened and the way it is essentially happening, the timing, etc. For us, unlike a lot of other Pakistani guests who usually resort to rhetoric, the only difference here for us that you've rather been a little bit more calculative. You've embraced the fact that your country is going through perhaps the most distressing at times. And the reason why I ask you this question is that don't forget that you have a backbreaking inflation, you have a depreciating currency and a precariously low foreign reserves. But despite that, one thing that you have been extremely consistent and you all have always come up with innovative ideas, and I must tell you this as someone who's been covering internal security, that we do see, despite the kind of responses that India has given to the dastardly attacks that have been carried out by the Pakistanis, despite the surgical strike, despite the airstrikes that actually took place, we have essentially seen that you've come back with something very innovative. And as I would like to share this with all our Indian guests too, General Kulkarni, General Sinha, as well as Kamaraga, I am given to understand that you no longer have just launch pads which are now brimming with terrorists along the line of control, but what they have essentially done are two things. One, you have civilian houses in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir which have converted into these terrorist launch pads, which would essentially mean houses which are closer to the border has been used as a launch pad, number one, which has been spread out. Second, the training does not really take place right now just along the line of control. It has now been shifted to the hinterland. For us, the problem here is that for all of you who've been essentially saying that aman ki zarurat hai, how exactly would you really expect any of this to happen when day in and day out these attempts are being made? And if you say that, look here, we have nothing to do, as one Pakistani guest said about a few days ago, that these are freedom fighters. These are no freedom fighters. If they were, how do they have access to M4 carbines? Let's begin on that note that yes, this is a policy that Pakistan has adopted for a very long time, unwilling to give it up. But how long will you continue doing it?
I mean, thank you, first of all, for having me. The point is that Pakistan's economy is in a bad shape. Pakistan's GDP is in a negative growth. Pakistan's foreign reserves are depleting. Pakistan's economy is in crisis. And India undoubtedly is a bigger economy. That's a fact. And I will not contest over this fact. Because it's the biggest fact of the day. But I would want to suggest that we have to wait on the investigation of the agencies of whether it was Pakistani hand behind this dastardly terrorist activity which killed about 5 Indian soldiers. Because I have always been of the view that if there is solid proof in the hands of the government of India that it was Pakistan behind these attacks which killed Indian troops, the government of India should raise this and should take this moment to highlight how Pakistan has been doing this all on the international front. But because it's only sources right now, and of course, whenever there's a terrorist activity, either in Pakistan or India, we have a habit of blaming each other whenever there's such an attempt. Yesterday, I was debating on your channel with Arnab, and I said that there was this ex-general of yours who said that American weapons have been used in attacking soldiers, the Indian troops. I said that the same American weapons are being used against Pakistani forces as well. I mean, Pakistan lost 23 troops just a month ago, and Pakistan has been victim of terrorism, as I've been suggesting. But we have to wait on investigation and let's see what is the result. Because again, we condemn terrorism, either it's on Pakistani side or the Indian side. No sane mind will condone any terror activities. And if there's a proof, the government of India should raise it. Why not?
For us,
send Pakistani from India or High Commission, send him back. I mean, why not do that?
Okay.
Should be the
For us,
of India's response.
if you are referring to the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa attack that took place, now if you're essentially trying to usually go back to Kamaraga, what the Pakistanis love doing, saying that, okay, look here, the Indians are essentially doing it. Of course, we would love to believe the fact that we can carry out anything that we want across the border, and we would perhaps, I would say, someone who's been covering the defense forces that with a lot of pride, but that's not the reality for us. You would love to blame it, but the reality is this: your counter-terrorism department, which has basically been carrying out those forced abductions of the Balochis, they are the ones who are basically now responding to it. Kamaraga, I want you to respond to what Faraz also has to say. Faraz is now equating the fact that the usage of M4 carbine by the terrorist and the M4 carbines that he is basically referring to, that has been recovered in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, are the same.
No, they may be same, that's not a problem, because the Pakistan-based militant organization, they have access to Afghanistan. And Afghanistan, Americans have left a lot of weapons there. So these weapons, they must have got it from there. And they have been using very sophisticated weapons for a very long time, mostly American, sometimes Chinese, sometimes other countries, they are getting it. The problem is, as my friend was telling from Pakistan, that need for investigation, need for, more information should be collected, before declaring the culprit who was behind it. We know, we have the bodies of these people, who were involved in these killings. And this is not the first time. This same tactics, is going on for decades, almost now. And we have seen whenever there is a crisis in Pakistan, they try to divert attention towards India. That is a very old. This year, they have big problem, economic as well as political problem you are facing, the Pakistan is facing. So therefore, we were expecting, something happen. Secondly, as General Sinha has mentioned, after 370, abrogation of 370 article, peace was returning in Jammu and Kashmir Valley. Large number of tourists were coming, and investment was also going to come to this region. A lot of companies, Indian companies, were willing to invest. It's a big line, big development program government of India is having, especially the Prime Minister Modi himself has taken keen interest in development of this region. So these are the basic things. Pakistan doesn't want development of Jammu and Kashmir region, doesn't want tourists to come to that place. So they're deliberately creating a situation whereby, the tourists will think twice before going to Jammu and Kashmir. The attempt is to hinder, progress that is taking place in Jammu and Kashmir. So they have been doing. Secondly, another thing, this is the election year this year in India. We have seen in the past also, they try to meddle through this. They create tension at the border. They create, they deliberately kill certain forces belonging to the Indian security establishment. This is what happened last election, or just before the last election, and this year, they have already started this process. Secondly, they create problem here. Tension becomes, when there is a tension at the border, then they go to their own people, tell, look, threat is coming from India, unite behind the army. Army has lost considerable support among the people of Pakistan themselves, now. And So therefore, the best thing is always there, the big threat from India, because the information which we are getting from Pakistan, a lot of people are coming from Pakistan, keep coming, meeting us in different countries, They are telling, the country is in a bad shape. Army has lost credibility. People generally believe that this is the army which has lost all its war with India. Secondly, they are responsible for the creation of Bangladesh, second partition of the country, and but still army continues to play a dominant role, a major role, the most powerful institution of the state. So that is a problem. People want democracy, rule of law, whereas the people who were struggling for this or fighting for these rights are in the jail. Most of them are in the jail. Secondly, you have a very serious crisis in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, which we used to call it Northwest Frontier Province, and Sindh, as well as in Balochistan. You see what is happening. And I'll tell you one thing, these are the three states mainly. They have sub-regional nationalism very strong. They never wanted to be part of Pakistan. After the creation of Pakistan, the biggest province of Pakistan, Punjab, they in fact colonized these states of Pakistan, and were treated very badly. Most of the development which have taken place in Pakistan is in the Punjab state, not in these states. Right. They remain very underdeveloped, So there is a problem also. So the best thing is, to target India, destabilize India. But one thing, the Indian security forces are very capable of handling. We are dealing it with for the last 30, 40 years,
right.
This militancy, and they will continue to manage this problem.
General Siddha, before I just come to you, I'll just get a quick response also once again from Faraz. Faraz, we've essentially also highlighted something that, perhaps a lot of civilians, Pakistani civilians outside Pakistan have been narrating. Kamar Aga is here, who's also interacted with a lot of Pakistanis outside India. Almost everyone seem to be on the same page. The fact that today Pakistan army has clearly lost its credibility, the very fact that all this while they were whipping the only issue that they want to repeat time and again. Even today, Nawaz Sharif has to change his tunes, because the reality is this: you can no longer keep on whipping the Kashmir cause. That's done and dusted.
Okay, so I have to clarify one very important thing. Pakistanis are very smart to differentiate between whom to support and whom not to support. So Pakistani nation stands with its army, and whether it's the opposition party PTI, which is being pushed towards the wall, or the other parties who are contesting elections. So Pakistan nation stands with its army, and there's no second thought over it. I mean, they might have their disagreements with the top tier leadership, but they don't really have a problem with the military, because they've laid lives for this nation, and of course we fought a ferocious war for the past 10 years. But I want to clear one very interesting thing. Whenever there's an election season going on in India, such terror activities are set to happen. Now, I'm following Pakistan's elections and security developments for the past good 10 to 12 years, and of course I'm a student of history as well. But no politician uses India or warmongering in its election manifesto. However, on the contrary, Indian politicians and BJP for the past 20 years have been using Pakistan and terrorism and anti-Pakistan or warmongering as its political tool to win election. And Modi, your prime minister, has been winning successive elections. So when we see that there's an unrest in Kashmir, or there's a terror activity within the border of India, who sets to win? It's the Indian government.
If the BJP
government Modi wins on this narrative. No Pakistani politician wins on this narrative, and we don't really care about what's happening in India, because again, Pakistanis are too much worried about their own situation.
Faraz, you're making a cardinal mistake in your analysis here.
If you may.
Okay.
One.
Faraz, let me just quickly clarify this point to you before I also give a chance.
Kashmiris, one important factor.
Faraz, hear me out.
If I may complete.
Faraz,
just give me 30 seconds. Give me 30 seconds. I just want.
Yeah, go ahead.
The point is, this terror activity happens right after the Supreme Court's verdict on the abrogation of Article 370. Why don't we realize that the locals do understand the long setbacks of how this situation will unfold for them? So this could be a local indigenous reaction to the consistency of abrogation of Article 370, because the Supreme Court of India just stamped on what the Modi government did in 2019. So this could be a reaction within the ranks of the Kashmiri indigenous movements. I mean, we do not necessarily have to blame each other whenever there's a terror activity, unless there's a solid proof.
Okay. You make a cardinal mistake here, Faraz, if you really believe that the Prime Minister and his party is essentially winning the elections only because they're whipping up anti-Pakistan sentiment. That's not true. The reality is that this is no longer the India which would have shown the other cheek if you would have continued with the activities that you're essentially doing. And today the External Affairs Minister has made it abundantly clear that India has no mood to show the other cheek. I'm told that Dr. Saeed Elahi is joining us, but before I go across to Dr. Saeed Elahi, I just want to bring in General Sena first and then General Kulkarni. General Sena, you've heard what Faraz has been saying. Faraz essentially once again wants to indicate the fact that, remember, this is perhaps only working towards our advantage. Faraz, first of all, unlike the Pakistani army, we certainly do not take pride in the fact that we're losing our men. And we never want that to happen.
I'm not surprised by the statement of Mr. Faraz, because I know they only speak what ISI tells them to speak. So I'm not surprised. Firstly, let me define the 5 crunch issues, which is the main source of problem between India and Pakistan. Very critical points. Firstly, the problem of mindset of Pakistan. Obsession with Kashmir. Ghazwa-e Kashmir, Ghazwa-e Hind, exporting terrorism. Then the credibility of Pakistan Army's role. The army which is supposed to defend the border, when it starts doing business, starts getting into real estate business, starts selling off eggs, meat and all that, how can it defend the nation? This is the reason why Pakistan never won a war against us. Because their priorities are wrong. They only want to eat malai without accountability. They remove Prime Minister as per the whims and fancies. This is the problem with Pakistan. Okay. Third, one more point. Wrong priority in the minds of Pakistan army generals is the main cause of the economic morass of Pakistan. And therefore, let me tell you, till the time military continues to call the shots in Pakistan, things are not going to improve. And therefore, another statement I would like to mention. I am convinced that debt to Pakistan is the only solution with regard to Indo-Pakistan relationship. Debt to Pakistan. Nothing short of that, because they will never behave, because Pakistan army will never change its stance. Pakistan army believes in state-sponsored terrorism, and they will continue to do so. They will continue to harbor Hafiz Saeed, Osama bin Laden, Dawood and everybody. And they will continue to export terrorism to us.
General Sena, I think so for we wouldn't have cared much about what's really happening in Pakistan, or perhaps, how exactly would they have really continued unless they would have meddled into our affairs. And, Faraz, you're nodding your head here, but the reality is this. General Kulkarni would also, put in that perspective. Honestly speaking, it really does not matter. It does not really matter till the time you keep provoking, you keep meddling into our affairs, and more importantly, this obsession, as many would say, with the K cause, which, as I've been pointing out, it's done and dusted. I'm not very sure if Dr. Elahi is still there or not, but, General Kulkarni, if I can just get a quick response from you on this entire matter too. One thing is very sure, that the priorities are absolutely wrong here. I also want to focus a little bit on the operational aspect, General Kulkarni. The fact of the matter is this, that let's not forget, while we are okay with the fact that it's a reality that Pakistan may not want to give up what they call their strategic policy, because the Pakistani army also realizes that that's the only way perhaps their domestic audience would have some faith in them, and they can keep selling a dream again and again and again. But the reality is also this, General Kulkarni, that we ought to worry about the fact that the Chinese also have a very important role to play. However, they've taken the Pakistanis for a complete ride, and hopefully some good sense would prevail at the Pakistanis that their Prime Minister just about a few days ago literally bowed before the Chinese, saying that, look here, we are going to fight it out for you. I have never seen a Prime Minister essentially making this kind of a comment, and that's exactly why Nawaz Sharif ended up making that kind of comment. When was the last, General Kulkarni, you would have expected Nawaz Sharif to sing paeans about India?
See, Shravan, there is no denying the fact that Pakistan has virtually become a satellite state of China. Where is the doubt? Just see the kind of meddling by the Chinese in Pakistan. The Pakistanis also hate the Chinese, but there is nothing that they can do because they have, economic turmoil in Pakistan, political isolation, the political turmoil, you look at it, international isolation. You see the Financial Action Task Force putting them on the grey list primarily because of terror funding, money laundering. So Pakistan virtually has been seen as a country which is not normal, where at all times the army either is in direct control or in remote control. As they say in Pakistan, it's Allah, it's army, or it's America. Now again you find the Chief of the Army Staff of Pakistan in America, primarily again wanting to interact, engage with America, knowing fully well that yes, it is China which they cannot always be trusting, and knowing how it is the Pakistanis' reaction to the Chinese in Balochistan, the Chinese presence in Gilgit-Baltistan in a large numbers, the very fact that Chinese have been instigating the Pakistanis because it's a low-cost option. And it suits the Chinese because the Pakistanis per se have perpetually been in denial mode and hate India. Hate India not now, right from 47. It's all along it's hate India. And in that context, you find that China finds it very easy to instigate Pakistan. Pakistan has all along been under the rule of the army directly or indirectly, and therefore it suits them. The Pakistan army has its own business, a business of over $20 billion. It deals in everything. You name a thing and the Pakistani army is there. And the ISI is nothing but virtually acting. Obviously, it's a branch of Pakistan army and therefore they're doing it. But it suits, again, unfortunately, it suits America because who do they talk to in Pakistan? They can only talk to one-point contact, and they find that the Chief of Army Staff of Pakistan is a one-point contact. So is with the Chinese. Who would they talk to? One-point contact. They have to pass orders as to what Pakistanis have to do. Pakistanis will follow it because look at the foreign reserves. Look at the way the Pakistanis are economically shattered. They don't know what to do. And Chinese don't want India to grow, and they are using Pakistan against India. It suits them all. But having said all this, I would say that they will continue to do. They are our enemy number one. They will continue to do it. We have to ensure that they don't succeed. We will improve. We will ensure. We will make sure that our SOPs are not.
Kulkarni, you would agree.
Not followed. The SOPs will be followed. Yeah.
General Kulkarni, I'm not saying this because you're a moderate when it comes to on various issues, but imagine this: a Pakistani army general who's literally sold off his own country and was actually seen on the streets of London merrymaking when his country was actually going through a tough time. And Dr. Elahi, I want to take this question to you. The fact of the matter is this, that your army, just because they enjoy the power, just because they want to be still relevant, they not only sell a dream which has only affected, harmed every Pakistani, every civilian in Pakistan who have actually suffered. And as Faraz says, you're a victim of terrorism yourself. The fact of the matter is this, that without the terrorism that you've nurtured, your Pakistan army would have been irrelevant long back. They want to stay relevant. They want to finish off your civilians. They do not really care about the fact that whether at all Pakistani civilians get their atta, they get their sugar, they get their food. They really do not care. Their generals are merrymaking outside Pakistan, somewhere in London. So they really do not care about you. So why exactly would you and Faraz really stand on one feet supporting an army which has actually ensured that Pakistan is completely pulverized?
First of all, thank you very much. I think you talked about Pakistan Army. We stand and love our army. Number one. Number two is that I was surprised by panelists from India who are very senior, but they were talking without sense. Someone was saying we should destroy Pakistan. Someone is presenting story of China and Pakistan. Yes, we are friends. With China, we are having good relations. We are great friends. We are on parallel grounds. It is not that they dictate us anything, and neither we accept any dictation. As you're talking about terrorism, I would just like to remind you that India is unleashing a terror campaign all over the world, from Pakistan, Kashmir, Canada, America, and even Qatar. The Canadian Prime Minister condemned American and the American State Department. You know what happened in Canada when
you are expert in
Canadian Prime Minister condemned and also expelled the Indian diplomat
about India's involvement
from Canada in killing of Hardeep Singh. And what happened in the US? The State Department also condemned for planning to kill one Sikh.
Give us the proof.
So
Please give us the proof.
It is now time for India to realize that they are exporting terrorism all over the world.
You are talking through the air. You don't know what you're talking about.
Dr. Elahi, Dr. Elahi,
Dr.
Elahi, question here is this. Now, you would like to get into the rhetoric a short while back. For us, the story of the fact that look here, we have also lost 20 of our soldiers in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
Canada,
the fact
America.
that M4 carbines were basically recovered.
So I think my friend,
I understand your predicament. I do understand your predicament, Dr. Elahi, that you don't have to worry about your army because your army is way too powerful.
It is
and the fact of the matter is this.
Indian media, my panelists,
Dr. Elahi, whenever we have accused Pakistan, Dr. Elahi, just hear me out. Dr. Elahi, just hear me out. Whenever we have basically accused Pakistan of its involvement in terrorist activities, we have actually put out enough evidence. Would you actually deny the fact that
no, listen, I will,
in Pakistan?
the problem is that as my friend, my senior friends, they said we are enemies. We are not friends. So when we arrest Kulbhushan with 300 people doing terrorism, bomb blasts, killing innocent people in Pakistan, so what you would do expect from Pakistan then?
Them with ammunition. And every time that we have gone, not only we have provided you as a mature nation, we have actually provided you for the longest time the dossier about your involvement. What have you ever given apart from making an accusation? And as far as the deaths that have taken place of the most wanted, India's most wanted inside Pakistan, the fact of the matter is that you can keep on whining, but the reality is that there is a massive all-out war that's taking place even within the ranks of terrorists now.
With 300 people.
I need 10 seconds.
So if you are blaming someone in Pakistan, that is just a theories. Nothing practical has been established about people you are mentioning. But the people who are arrested in Pakistan are involved in terrorism. That was a full gang of 300 people headed by Indian raw officers. So now we expect that if you are doing all this and you will not get a retaliation.
Okay, Dr. Elahi, you can. Okay, Dr. Elahi, you can. General Sinha wants to respond. General Sinha, we have our resources. Unlike you, Dr. Elahi, we do not want to waste any of our resources. Our resources here first is for nation first, as we say. Our forces are more concerned about protecting the nation, unlike we do not waste our time in perhaps thinking what's going to happen in Pakistan, Pakistan is going to survive or not. That's not our concern, first of all. General Sinha wants to respond, and then Faraz, you can come in.
I need about 60 seconds. First of all, let me say that Pakistan Army is not a professional army. It is a business organization, firstly. Secondly, I am amazed at the intelligence of Pakistani people, who can't see through the game of Pakistani generals. Their general army chief, when he retires, before when he was a corps commander, ITR income tax return, 0 liability. And when he retires, he goes with 12 crores. Where does this money come from? Then he goes to London and starts doing pick and having a good time. When the people of Pakistan are not getting bread, sugar, dal, aloo, everything, these people are having ball of time. They buy property in Washington, they buy property in London. When the poor Pakistani, they can't buy anything. What is the army's role? To protect the border and not loot the country. And you can't see through the game.
Army protecting the border
Pakistani
very well.
are looting you. And you are still praising them.
Borders.
For us.
You don't deserve
just
India's animosity. You are yourself destroying your country.
Absolutely, and I completely agree.
Advice, we know what to do with our country.
You're a sensible person,
and you're
a knowledgeable person. Dr. Eli, just hold on. For us, will you deny the fact that General Bajwa, okay, Dr. Eli, just hold on. Dr. Eli, let your friend from Pakistan also respond. He's been silent all this while. For us, will you actually deny the fact that if at all General Bajwa and any of your past generals, if they were so very concerned about your country, they would have actually been in the country, fought for your country. The moment, the slightest of fear of their own life, because they worry the fact that after looting, plundering your own army, your army generals would at the first instance would have left the country. General Bajwa is a classic example of that. Will you yourself deny the fact that General Bajwa was merrymaking in London?
Okay, so I'm not here to defend the ex-general's wealth, or I'm not a spokesperson of the military. Of course, they have their own ills to defend, but I would only want to point out one. No, please.
Because you can't defend them.
One important thing.
You cannot defend them.
Pakistan Army.
You cannot defend the indefensible.
That is the issue.
Johnson, just allow him to also respond.
Which has lost a general, a brigadier, a commander, a major, a captain, and every rank of the soldier have laid their lives in the fight against terrorism in the past 10 years. And I would not want to blame the entire institution because few people were not on the right.
Talking about. No, which terrorism are you talking about? For us, the terrorism that if at all,
in the line of,
if at all in the academic,
army which has fought a very
for us. In the academic world, if I had to really say, if there is a founder of terrorism, if there is any state that has been the founder of terrorism, Pakistan would certainly have qualified. Kamaraga, as an academician, would actually deny the fact.
Basically, Pakistan is an epicenter of terrorism. This is what I'm not saying. This is not my statement. This is the. Just one second, brother. Just one second. Just hold on.
For us, just here.
Faraz, 1 second. Let me. Commentators suffer from amnesia.
Let others speak, Faraz.
We cannot blame Pakistan for everything that is wrong in the region. I mean, Afghan war was not of our making. It was the Americans.
Just Faraz, 1 second.
No, question. No,
you have to be blamed.
No, 1 second. Faraz, you're accusing us of amnesia. You are accusing us of amnesia.
And of course, you blame us.
The fact of the matter is this: you fail to even acknowledge the fact that this has been your state policy.
1 second.
This has been your state policy right from the creation of Pakistan, from sending in raiders, hoping that you will take full advantage of it, till today. Your only policy has been this, that let me do something, let me only create these non-state actors, so that there will always be this deniability. But the reality is this, for us, that doing this, you were hoping that you would achieve, something. It has resulted in a situation that your people are now starving. Literally starving. General Sena, before I let you go, even Mr. Kamaraga has been waiting for that. Mr. Aga, go ahead.
You see, Pakistan is an epicenter of terrorism. This is what I'm not saying. This is what's said by the American president. Trump himself has said. You must have read this.
Please listen to Canadian Prime Minister also. What is he saying about India?
Not only the India is victim of Pakistan-backed militancy or terrorism, the Central Asian Republics also complaining the same thing.
Right.
They are also. you are responsible for what is happening in Afghanistan. Pakistan is in fact responsible for the destruction of Afghanistan. You know, they have destroyed that country. That's a nation, by the way, and Pakistan is an historic country, historic nation. Pakistan is not a nation state. It's an arrangement made by a section of people, you know, the Muslim League and Americans and some other people, you know. Pakistan, its basis is hatred against India. That's the only thing, you know. It cannot survive, you know. The nation was created in the name of religion, and ethnicity is much more stronger than the identity, than the religious identity. So we are seeing now, you know, the revolt in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa or Balochistan, what is happening, or even in Sindh, the nationalist movement is emerging once again. You know, how long, you know, Pakistan, you know, can't survive without the army. That is the problem. Army declared itself as a guardian of Islamic State, you know. Islamic State is defended by an army, you know. This is an irony.
Right.
This is, I mean, it's
Mr. Aga, I'm really sorry.
10 seconds.
I'm really running short of time, so just, okay, make a quick point.
Pakistan has a shameful army, an army which does not claim its soldiers' dead bodies in Kargil war. What do you talk of that army? Their own soldiers are dead. I don't claim your body.
That's a story, you know, General Sena, that's a story that, you know, they would never accept it. But I am also asking, Faraz, I asked you this question, Dr. Ilahi, I also asked you this question. Forget about everything else. You may actually have to, you know, you're compelled to perhaps, you know, sing praises for your army. But the reality is that, just think about it when you go back tonight. You have your generals with scant regard for the country. No professional army would have ever done this to their own country. Not only because they were power hungry, the reality is this, that they have made perhaps, you know, a fortune for themselves by looting their own country and resulting in this situation where the people of this country and ordinary civilians in Pakistan have been suffering because of this, and that's a reality that you could perhaps never deny, because that's not what we are saying. Even the World Bank has made the same sort of assumption, not final conclusions as to what is really happening inside Pakistan.
Give him death sentence.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on the weekend debate tonight. General Kulkarni, Kamaraga, General Sena, Faraz Saeed and Dr. Ilahi for joining us on the weekend debate. On the other side, news and updates continue.